Hey team, Coach Asia coming at you live right here from my dining room. Got my lovely assistant, Miss Savvy Girl, and we're gonna take on today's Behemoth GPP session right here in the comforts of our own home. Today is not an ideal day, right? It's freezing outside. You guys are probably bundled up, but we are going to follow the mantra of anything is better than nothing today. So I'm gonna walk you through today's training session with variations that you can do right there in the comforts of your own home to make sure that you guys are staying in routine and not missing a step today. Okay, let's kick things off with 3 rounds of 5 inchworms, shoulder tap, plus or minus the push-up. We're then gonna go into 10 seated leg raises to get our hip flexors going for our V-ups and our tuck-ups. And then we're gonna go into 10 Russian baby makers. No, I did not invent the name, but it is a phenomenal warm-up piece if we're picking anything up off the ground or passing through a squat. So this is what we're looking for. Remember, on our inchworms, widen your legs out to where your knees are stiff. Okay, so that means if I put my feet here and I go to reach towards the ground and I have to bend my knees, I want to widen my legs out so that I can keep my knees stiff. We're going to walk all the way out to the top of our push-up, maintain good stability through our trunk as we add 1 shoulder tap per side, and then we can add the push-up, walk all the way back up, stand tall. 5 of those. We're then going to come down to the ground. I'm going to do some seated leg lifts. So hardest option is going to be both legs together, knees are locked out, toes are pointed, and I want to keep my torso upright on these. My hands are right around knee distance, right on the ground, and all I'm going to do is lift and gently place them down. Okay, I don't want to lean back as I lift my legs up. So if that's too challenging, we can assume the same position, but just go 1 at a time. Okay, so we're gonna do 10 legs together or 10 each side. And then lastly, Russian baby makers. Feet are in our squat position. We're gonna fold over, grab onto our feet, pull ourselves down into a bottom of a squat, and I'm gonna drive my elbows into my knees so I get a good hip stretch. If you notice, my hips, I'll show you from the side, don't really go lower than about knee height, okay? I don't wanna drop down into the squat. I wanna keep my hips right around knee height, stay connected to my feet, lift my hips, pull right back down, okay? 10 reps here, and notice I'm keeping my hands around my feet the entirety of this movement. So let's knock out 3 rounds of that before we jump into our gymnastics piece. We are starting today off with some gymnastics work. We have a 12-minute clock where we're gonna accomplish 10 to 15 push-ups, followed by 10 V-ups. We're gonna rest about 60 to 90 seconds between sets, and we are going to repeat for 5 to 7 quality sets. So this is for quality. Remember, when we're looking for quality today, we want to strive for virtuosity. These are relatively simple movements, but we want to execute them as perfectly and pristine as possible. If you guys notice, it's a range of 10 to 15. If you guys struggle with push-ups, stay towards 10. If you crush push-ups, push to 12, but we won't do more than 15. And we have some different variations on our V-ups with seated knee tucks or tuck-ups. We're looking at building some volume in these movements. And how do we improve on these movements? We want to build volume, time under tension, and that's what this piece is going to involve. So let's take a look at some different variations for the push-ups and the V-ups. So you guys know push-ups really well. We do a lot of push-ups. We have a very high standard of movement for push-ups. But we're gonna go over 3 different variations today that don't actually involve any equipment. Typically in the gym, we elevate our push-ups onto a box. If you guys have access to a table, a couch, a granite countertop, whatever it might be, you guys can elevate yourself, or maybe even you have a box or a chair at home, you can do that. But I'm gonna go over 3 variations from the ground today, all right? Easiest variation is going to be from our knees, okay? Glutes are squeezed, elbows stay tight, all the way down, all the way up. Making sure that we maintain good midline integrity and that we reach full extension with our elbow, okay? Second variation is gonna be more of our hybrid variation. We're gonna start from our toes. We're gonna perfectly lower down, push back up from our knees, and then back onto our toes. okay? And then the hardest variation we have is obviously gonna be push-ups from the ground. Okay, some common faults we're gonna see here. Number one, base of the palm in front of the shoulder on our movement. Okay, we want the base of the palm directly under the shoulder on our reps, okay? Fault number two we're gonna see, lack of midline connection. So we wanna make sure that before each rep of pushing ourselves up off the ground, we brace our belly and we squeeze our glutes as tight as we can. Last fault we're typically gonna see, the hips stay high, the chest goes low. We wanna make sure that the chest and the hips stay together. Easy fix for that, squeeze your glutes and make sure that you feel your chest and your hips touching the ground each rep. Okay, for our V-ups today, we wanna choose a variation where we can do 10 reps in a row as crisp reps as possible. So easiest option is going to be a seated knee tuck. Sitting in this L position, we're just gonna lean our torso back, place our hands on the ground right behind our hips with our fingers facing forward. We're going to lean back, making sure that our legs are straight, our toes are pointed, and we're gonna bring our chest to our knees and our knees to our chest, and then extend our knees and our chest away from one another. Together, away, together, away, okay? That's gonna be the easiest variation. Next variation is gonna be a tuck up. Very simple progression. Same start as my seated knee tuck, except when I lean back, I'm gonna go all the way back to where my lower back touches the ground, load my arms, throw my arms, bring my chest to my legs. Okay, and then we have our V-up. V-up is gonna be the hardest option because it requires a lot more compression strength, but also good mobility through our hamstring. So knees are locked out, toes are pointed, same setup as the tuck up. Okay, but now we're sitting up a little bit higher and we're gonna really focus on reaching towards touching our toes. If we can touch at least the lower portion of our shins or our ankle capsules, that's a great option. But if our reps look like this, we wanna just move back to a tuck up, okay? So find an option that you guys can do 10 repetitions in a row from and knock it out. And we're gonna finish today's session with a spicy little 10-minute piece. We're gonna move through for 10 minutes. We are going to do 10 ground overheads and then either 15 tuck jumps or 16 reverse lunges. We call this piece a threshold piece. So we want to start with a challenging pace or effort, something that we're questioning ourselves on whether we can hold for 10 minutes or not. And then because of the pace we take, we're gonna have to exhibit some pretty strong mental and intestinal fortitude towards the end of the workout to maintain this piece. By the end of the 10 minutes, we don't want you guys lying around on the ground, rolling around. You should definitely be fatigued, out of breath, but you should be able to stay on your feet and move forward. Let's take a look at some different options for the ground to overhead and our tuck jumps or our reverse lunges. Okay, for our ground to overhead, we want to utilize something light around the house that we can move for 10 reps unbroken, whether we're fresh, whether we're tired. I have two different items here. I have a backpack filled with some weights. Most people have backpacks in their house or some sort of object that they can grip onto and they can load up with towels or different types of weights. And then I also have a dumbbell. A dumbbell can suffice for a can of soup, a one-armed item. Some of you guys even have weights around your house, so find something light to where we can move this for 10 reps consecutively. When we're looking at our ground overhead today, if you're using both hands on an object, we want to stop at the shoulders and then from our shoulders go overhead. So I'm going to demo with this backpack that has some very convenient handles on it. Then I'm going to bring it up to my shoulders and then get it overhead. Okay, pretty straightforward. Now, it's not gonna feel as challenging as maybe some of the barbells and weights that you use in the gym, but remember our mantra, anything is better than nothing, okay? So, we want to stop at the shoulders and we want to use our legs to go overhead. If we typically go from the hang position, that's a great option as well, okay? Now, let's say we have a dumbbell, can of soup, something we can hold with one arm. We can either stop at the shoulder and go overhead, or we can do something more of like an alternating snatch. Okay, today, if you're working in your living room, or you're working in your dining room like I am, let's switch arms on the ground so that we're not smashing our tile floor or getting our carpet dirty. Switch arms on the ground. Go from the hang if you typically go from the hang, stop at the shoulders, go all the way overhead. If you're using something light enough, we can definitely go one fluid motion overhead. All right, 15 tuck jumps or 16 reverse lunges. This was typically going to be a box up. So if you guys have a stool or a chair or even a box that you want to step up to or jump up to, great option. But if you don't have any equipment, which most of you don't, these are very close movements to our box up. So if we're looking at a tuck jump, we're not really focusing on going through our full squat. I want you to just think about jumping and pulling your knees up as high as you can. Okay, this is going to simulate a box jump. Now, if you notice, I'm not doing consecutive reps. You guys wouldn't if you were on a box. So focus on jumping, pulling your knees up, creating some distance off the ground, and then landing in a good position. If we're gonna do our reverse lunges, we're gonna do 8 per side, 16 total. And the biggest focus here is stay away from lunging on a tight wire, all right? Step that leg back at 45 degrees. Make sure the knee kisses the ground, front heel stays down. We'll finish the day with some exhale, hold breath work. Take 3 minutes to just lay in a hook lying position, do some down regulated breathing, let your heart rate, your core temp, your respiration rate come back down, and then work on 5 minutes of exhale, hold work. So set a clock, pull up your phone, set a clock, take an inhale through the nose, and then exhale it through the nose as slow as you can. Either through the nose or kind of hum it through your mouth and try to extend that duration as long as you can. We're working on CO2 tolerance here. Remember, if we can improve our ability to manage CO2 within the body, we can improve our ability to manage stress, whether that's inside of our training or it's away from the gym as well. Remember, we always talk about this breathwork pieces that we do every single day at Behemoth are valuable tools that you guys can take and use with you away from the gym. So, after that first set, breathe normally for a minute, and then once that minute expires, do it again. Breathe in normally through your nose, and then exhale slow as possible. Make sure you guys are timing your exhales because each following exhale you do, you want to try to improve upon marginally as you go across those last 5 minutes of breathing. Today is not an ideal for any of us. I know we'd all rather be in a gym, but anything is better than nothing. So get your training in, snap your sweaty selfie, post it in the Facebook group, photo or it didn't happen, and we'll see you guys around B Gym soon.